Today is a good day at work because I get to drive a new Mercedes, and not just any Mercedes. This is the future of Mercedes because this is the all-new Mercedes-Benz EQA. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to get notified of all our future uploads. As you can see, this car is rather bulbous, but there's a good reason for that. These smooth rounded surfaces, for example where the front grille is and where the intakes would be, are a common design philosophy across the entire Mercedes EQ range. And that's all for aerodynamic efficiency, because the slipperier you can make your car, the further you can drive on a single charge, which is a good thing. Also up front you can see this front light bar, which is not LED by the way, it's fiber optic, that goes across the entire width of the front. And this is distinct to the Mercedes EQ range, so if you see this in your rearview mirror, you'll know you're holding up the future. The front light bar is fiber optic, but as you might expect, the headlights are fully LED. And they also feature this blue accent strip because, as everybody knows, blue is the intergalactic color for electricity. So Mercedes has dotted some blue accents all throughout the vehicle. Now this is the Edition 1 version of the EQA, and for that I get these 20-inch rose gold alloy rims, which kind of give off SoundCloud rapper music video vibes, which I actually do really quite enjoy. And then on the side we have the blue accented EQA Edition badge, and on the underside of the wing mirrors you have one of the cameras for the 360-degree camera view function you get on the inside. And coming along here you can see that the key is rose gold as well, but you don't need it because, as usual, keyless entry with the Mercedes logo puddle light on the floor. And while you can see the sculpted, smooth body of the car on the outside, what you can't see is the underside of the car, which is actually almost completely covered. So that results in this car having a drag coefficient of just 0.28, which is more aerodynamic than a cow. But if you want to add some of your own bits and bobs to the car, you can hit up our friends at Voss Automotive. With a keen understanding of vinyl wraps, paint and custom automotive bodywork, Voss is your best option to give your car a 360-degree transformation without breaking the bank. Now at the back you can see the intricately designed rear LED tail lamps, as well as the full-length LED light bar in the back to match the front. And now comes my favorite part of every review. I'm going to climb in the boot. The tailgate is electric, as you might expect from a Mercedes, and the load floor is really low so you can get stuff in easily. And Mercedes claims 340 litres of storage space for this, which, as you can see, isn't actually that big. To give myself a bit more allowance, I can fold down the rear seats 40-20-40, but even then, it is a bit small. Overall, while it's evident that this car prioritizes efficiency, with additions such as these big fancy rims or light bars front and back, it's also easy to see that Mercedes hasn't achieved that by skimping on style or practicality. Now if you just drop big dollar on a new Mercedes, you're gonna want to look after it, and you can do so with 3K Defense from our friends over at KGC Workshop. 3K Defense is established since 2016 and is customized for Singapore's weather, providing you with the most suitable coating to protect and shine your car. Now the back seats of the Mercedes EQA is actually quite decent. I have good enough knee room, I have plenty of headroom, and there's a very low center hump, so 3 people could sit side by side here fairly comfortably. If I wanted to, I can also put, as usual, child seats with isofix points, and the rear passengers get an armrest with fold-out cup holders. And that's not all the practicality that the rear seat passengers get. You also get rear air vents, a little storage space here, as well as a USB Type-C charging port. Now there's a lot to talk about in the front of the EQA, and I'm going to start with the seats. They're finished in this very brave and very swish white, which I do love, but you already know it's going to be a pain in the butt to maintain. But the seats themselves, they are heated and they're fully electric. And there's also this function called seat kinetics. And what that does is it basically moves a bit of the seat every so often, so your body doesn't get cramped up on long drives. And apart from that, when I look at these seats, especially in this color, I just get this feeling of airiness in the cabin, especially when combined with the full-length glass sunroof and all the glass around me. It just feels like a more open space than it actually is. Coming down from that, the multi-function steering wheel is brilliant. It's actually got some of the most useful functions. This little pad here on the left controls the middle screen, and this little pad on the right controls the screen in front of me. Speaking of which, the fully digital gauge cluster is about as customizable as one person could ever need something to be. I can have my rev-o-meter, I can have my speed, I can have the distance to the car in front. It's just infinite options, and Mercedes are really in a league of their own with their MBUX system. And using the MBUX system is this big center touchscreen display, which I can drag with my fingers, or I can use this little pad down here. I have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and as you might expect, it has all the features you would want. Down here, we have the shortcut functions for stuff like your 360-degree camera, your parking sensors, your drive modes, and you have a little bit of extra storage here with cup holders, USB Type-C charging port as your wireless charging. And in the middle, you have some more storage space, some more USB Type-C charging ports, and in the glove box, you have space to put a CD. Now, the MBUX system has all the usual stuff you expect: satellite navigation, radio, Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. That's where you find your seat kinetic function. But this is the big interesting one for this car, the EQ menu, where you can see some of the options to charge your car. You can see how much energy you've been using, you can see where the energy's been flowing, or you can see your current vehicle stats. For example, how much gas or how much brake you're using. But here is the other big feature, which is the parking cameras. So here you can see the surround view of the car. And in a car where you don't want to curb the rims, this is especially useful. Now, the EQA is just chock full of things that elevate my cabin experience, with stuff like ambient lighting, which I have here, 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 and on the dashboard, combined with stuff like my premium Burmester sound system, and even simple things such as your air vents, or just these buttons, your volume roller. Everything just exudes an air of quality and just of being premium. So all that together makes my cabin experience in the EQA something I'll give 2 thumbs up to. Now all that's left to do is see how she drives, so let's start her up. Did you hear that? No? Exactly. Here are the headline figures for the Mercedes EQA. The EQA is powered by an asynchronous motor paired with a 66.5 kWh battery. It makes 188 horsepower and 375 Nm of torque. The EQA is front-wheel drive through a single-speed transmission, and it will go from 0 to 100 km an hour in 8.9 seconds and onto a top speed of 160 km an hour. Energy consumption is rated at 16.2 kWh per 100 km. Driving the EQA, the first thing you notice, it's almost unnaturally quiet. When I'm stopped at a traffic light, I feel like I have to turn on the radio because my ears feel a bit funny. You also start hearing things you've never heard before. For example, I can hear every time the rear camera hatch opens, because Mercedes have put a lot of emphasis into noise dampening to make sure that this EQA is as quiet as it almost can be. And honestly, even with these big 20-inch rims, I don't hear any road noise until I'm almost at highway speed, or unless it's a particularly bad bit of road. But for example, if I'm just slowly trundling along like I am now, it's silent. Now, the car itself isn't especially quick. You definitely don't get as much of a pushback in your seat as you do in some other electric cars. But being electric, I still, of course, get 100% of my torque available all of the time. So if, for example, I say, ooh, there's a gap in traffic, and now I'm in that gap. The handling of the EQA is actually really well sorted because, like with many other EVs, the batteries are mounted under the floor of the vehicle. So what that does is it lowers the center of gravity much lower than it would be in a conventional SUV. So this handles much better than a conventional SUV. Now, in place of changing gear, the steering wheel mounted pedals are now used for me to adjust how aggressive I want my regenerative braking. So I have 4 options, from super aggressive all the way to coasting. And in the coasting mode, I can honestly roll way further than I ever expected. And in the most aggressive mode, I could very easily cause a multi-car pileup because it does slow you down substantially. Now, Mercedes says this will do 426 kilometers on a single charge. It is a bit ambitious. In my real-world use, I found it a bit closer to the 350 kilometer range. But if I were to charge this car at a fast charger, I can get it from 0 to full in just half an hour. So while the regenerative brakes are fine, the actual brake pedal itself can sometimes feel a bit sketchy, because in the few days I've been driving this, sometimes when I slow down to a stop at a traffic light or whatever, it feels like the brake pedal is being pulled away from my foot, which can be quite off-putting. But saying that, of course, the EQA has plenty of safety features like blind spot warning. The car will stop itself if it feels like it's about to crash into something or someone. I wanted to test this, but my boss said no, I can't drive over the intern, so So the EQA also has voice control, so let's test it out. Hey Mercedes.
How may I help you?
Use radio preset 4.
I'm sorry, can you say that again, please?
There you go.
I'm sorry, but I can't help you with it right now.
Yep. I think the EQA is actually really easy to drive, and for the most part, it drives like a normal Mercedes. Except in this, I get instant torque, and honestly, I think it's a lot quieter. And unless you're really going for out-and-out performance, I think this is a brilliant option for the average Mercedes owner. Because the average owner isn't going to care about how many tenths I can save getting to 100 or how finely tuned the suspension is. They just care about whether their Mercedes is a nice ride. Is it comfortable? Is it quiet? Do I get cool features? Do I look cool driving this car? And in my opinion, the answer to all of those questions is yes. It's kind of crazy to think that electric cars are becoming less and less of a novelty these days and are gradually moving into being commonplace. But at the same time, every time I test a new electric car, it always feels like when you get a new phone or a new laptop, just that feeling of, ooh, what can this car do? Or what cool new features do I have? And with what we've seen on the new EQA, I think it's safe to say that being electric doesn't mean you lose out on your precious Mercedes experience. If anything, I think it enhances it by being quieter, more refined, more efficient, and of course, it's still a tech fest. Now at 271 Gs, it's obviously no throwaway decision. But if you're in the market for a new Mercedes and you're not too particular about what exactly makes your car move, then I say give the EQA a try. It might surprise you. Now, if you want to buy yourself a swanky new Mercedes, you're going to need insurance, and who better to hit up for insurance than Direct Asia? As the only direct insurer with the highest NCD, lifetime repair guarantee, and flexible coverage, Direct Asia protects your car so you can enjoy the moments that matter. Because what drives you matters most. Get a quote now at directasia.com or call 6665 5555 today. Thank you very much for watching this episode of mReview. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you again on mReview.
Motorist